welcome back to today's video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I say welcome back if it is not your first time here. If it is your first time here, welcome. I'm happy to have you viewing my video today and hanging out with me. So today I'm going to be flipping through my August pages. And it may or may not be a little chattier than usual. We'll see. I kind of feel like this is a bit of a life update as well, but we'll just see how it shakes out. So starting with August, and this is the Sterling Ink Common Planner in the N1 size. It's the full year, not the compact version. And the cover is a VDS Nomad, and the leather is ostrich. The color is serpentine. So that's what I have going on there. And then I just wanted to show you the swatch page that I laid out for August. Of course, you can see this in a lot more detail in my August Plan With Me video. But if you haven't watched that or just want to get up to speed, these are the colors of the tombos and everything that I used to coordinate with the Sterling Ink kit for August. All right, so going straight to the monthly, here's how everything worked out by the end. My monthly spreads are pretty straightforward. There's nothing, exciting or anything about it. Of course, they look beautiful because of the sticker kits, but I usually just jot down appointments that I need to remember, life things that I need to remember, like the last time my hair was trimmed or something, events that are going on, birthdays, sometimes, not even always. The last time I did my nails. Those are all the types of things that I have written down on my monthly spread, and I think it's pretty straightforward. Of course, if you had any questions, feel free to ask them down below in the comments. Now, I think where we get to like the meat and potatoes, we get into the nitty-gritty, are really the weeklies. I've come to realize that my weeklies are more so the functional part of my planning system, whereas the dailies, well, the monthlies and the weeklies are more so functional. I think the weeklies are more functional for me than the monthlies. I know, some people can kind of plan from a monthly or live from a monthly, and that's that. I can't necessarily. Can I live from a weekly? Probably. Probably yes. Would I like to only live from a weekly? Probably no. But I've done it before. I can do it again. But anyways, this is the more functional area of my planner. And on here in the middle is where I track appointments and meetings and things that are timed. And I just put them in the order of the day, not necessarily wherever they fall on the actual timeline. So like if something is in the evening, it goes, down here, afternoon, somewhere in the middle, morning, somewhere closer to the top, but not specifically at the time of day that it happened. And then up at the top are day-specific tasks, followed by this section here, which would be my workouts. And then the section down here are the dinners that we had as a family. And then my task list for the week and any other notes that I choose to add for that week. So that is how, functionally speaking, all of my weekly layouts play out. That was a little corny. So that is, functionally speaking, how all of my weekly layouts just work and how they operate and how they help me to stay sane. So all of the weekly layouts for August are generally the same, just varying colors and deco. Of course, some are filled in a bit more than others. For instance, like this was my birthday week, and I consider my birthday like an international holiday. I think before I said national holiday, but let's take it even further. International holiday. So I do not work during that time, and I'm okay with others also not working on my birthday. But for that reason, I don't have a ton going on, especially in the timetable section for that week. So as compared to the previous week, it's a little less filled in, but nothing is really like super full or anything. And then it's more of the same. I do believe overall for August, I sort of took it easy, and this is part of that like life update thing. I feel like August was my reset month, so to speak. Not necessarily reset in terms of like planning how the rest of my life would go, but reset in terms of like just relaxing and turning off for a little while. So maybe not so high strung on the productivity, not doing a whole lot. I was just relaxing and kind of pouring back into myself, which is what I really felt like I needed for August. Of course, when the month started, I had grand plans of things that I wanted to complete and things that I wanted to do. But as time went on, and you can probably, I don't know if you'll see that in my daily pages, but as the month wore on, I was just really over it, so to speak. So I decided to just lean into that like rest and recovery sort of phase that I felt like I was going through. And that is definitely reflected in my planner in certain areas. So those are the 4 weeks of August. Again, like I said, pretty straightforward, and they all generally look the same. There were some little bits of hand lettering and such. I don't even know if I can call it that, but some little bits of deco that I added throughout the month as well. I put, for instance, like an errands list right on this day, which was a Friday, just listing out the places that I wanted to go when I was going out for errands. And I always do have like a little sticky note of possible dinner ideas for the week, and you can usually see that on a lot of my weekly spreads. It doesn't always happen that way. I just kind of go based on what I have in my freezer, what's in the pantry, and what we feel like eating. And then I'll just pull from those ideas, or that list of ideas. So those are all the weeklies. And then getting into the nitty gritty, I should say. Didn't I say the meat and potatoes? But anyway, getting into the actual August pages. And before we start there, so at the end of July, and I do have a July flip or July recap on my channel. You can check that out if you'd like to see more. But right after that, I did stick in the 2024-25 school calendar for my kids, and I put it in using a very wet glue, and it made all of these pages so crinkly. So I put it in and then like just close the whole book, close the whole planner, thinking that would help it, you know, stay into place, which it did, of course. But what that did also is made all of the surrounding pages a little crinkly and a little weird. I actually don't hate it. I kind of like it. It feels like it's a lived-in planner, almost like I did watercolor on the pages or something. But it did transfer a bit of like the ink and marker that I had on the previous spread, but that's okay. So that's the calendar, and I do plan to write in any days off that they have, of course, from now until the end of 2024, and then in my 2025 planner I'll have a similar spread as well. But any days off, sick days or whatever, I'll mark them there. Here is where I intend to do a swatch page for my Crayola Super Tips. I just got a new set of them. So I wanted to do swatches here. I did see on Julie Plans on Instagram, she had a great idea, and she numbered them so that you could know, so that she could know which marker corresponds to which actual color, because I do find that the caps do not at all match up with the actual marker colors in a lot of cases. So actually I'm going to put my watch on Do Not Disturb because I am being disturbed. So yeah. All right. So this is going to be for my Super Tips markers, even though this little tag says something completely different. Ignore that. And then here is where I started drafting out my mental inventory, because I felt like there was a lot going on in my brain and I needed to get it all out on a piece of paper. And the idea of the mental inventory is taken from the bullet journaling system. So it's similar to that. My interpretation is similar to that, but not entirely. And if you will recall, if you've been here for a while, there was actually a task list that I had back in January that I set up that I can't find now. But it was generally the same premise, but I didn't have it categorized. The way I set this up, I have 3 categories for home, business, and personal, and I write down the things that I want to do and use the dot markers to color code. And then there's a small dot to the left of the color coding so that I can check off whether or not it happened, and then a number system right to the right of the color coding so that I can assign priority to the items on the list within the category. Will it work for me? We'll see. So that is the added detail that I've included in this task list that is different from previous task lists. I also did write down the date that I added it to the list, and then I have a column for the date that it's closed out or the date that it was done. I don't know if I'll ever really want to look back to see how long it took me to do something, because a lot of these things could also be just what's swirling around in my mind that I think I want to do, but I don't quite yet know when it's going to happen. So like knowing the timeline of when it did happen may not be useful in most cases. But I wanted to show you those 3 spreads. Well, the idea for those 3 spreads, because clearly this one's still empty, that did get completed in August. So starting out with my August dashboard, again, I do feel like this dashboard is a little bit underused, underutilized, but it is what it is. So I filled that out for the start of the month. Things that I wanted to focus on, what I was reading, watching, learning, and projects that I wanted to tackle. Needless to say, I feel like not a lot of this got done. Because, you know, 1-2 weeks into the month, I was like, I'm just going to relax. I'm just going to reset, and I'm not focusing on projects, so to speak. So not a lot of it got done. Flipping the vellum calendar, we get into my 1 line a day. And that is something I typically can keep up with no problem. And then my daily pages look pretty much the same. So if I could categorize my planning system overall, the weeklies are extremely functional for me, and I could kind of live by the weekly alone, which is absolutely fine. The dailies are also functional, but also sort of like a creative outlet in some sense of the word, or some sense of the term. Also, I do include a bit of journaling here. There, never anything super deep, just like what I'm feeling at the moment, what I'm thinking at the moment. So my daily pages go more into my mind, if I could say that. I don't know how cheesy that sounds, but while functional, like with my task list, I also do put a few other things on the spreads. I got a new camera. I got the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Osmo Pocket 3, that's the name of it. And I did some research for some suggested settings that I wanted to put in there, and that's what I did here. Oh, backing up just a little bit, something that I also did in August was finally update my index. So I do have an index, and I like to write down like what page number. Before I did it like calendar day when I didn't have a numbered notebook, but what page certain things are on. So for instance, these DJI settings are on page 215, and that is on my index. So if I ever need to reference it later on down the line, I'll know exactly where to go. So that's what I did for August. And I did have the idea, I think I filmed a reel about it or something. So I pre-decorated all of my August daily pages, and I used some of the vellum from the Sterling Ink kit, cut them out. I got the idea from Catherine's video in like July, where she was decorating her July pages, and she used portions of her vellums, and I thought that was a great way to use them up, especially for those ones that I don't yet have a use for. And the kit in August was ideal for that because it had a lot of really pretty scenes that you could kind of separate and cut out and use wherever. So I do love how this turned out. It's kind of like an overlay. I'm not covering anything necessarily, but an overlay to add interest to the pages. Like I said, I pre-decorated all the spreads, so I wasn't sure what day was going to land where. I did know, and I did kind of plot out when I would be putting in the weekly review. So I did know that ahead of time. So from one weekly review to the next, I knew I had a certain amount of spreads or pages and just decorated them however. But I didn't know like which days I use a whole page for, which pages I split amongst a couple of days. So I just went with the flow, and I've really been enjoying it for the whole month of August. Getting into this next spread, it's a two-page spread. I clearly have 3 days on here. We went to Stationery Fest. We, as in me and my friend Joyce, went to Stationery Fest. I did not do a video about it. I don't have a whole lot of footage from it because I'm not a vlogger. It just doesn't work for me. But I actually think I might do a video. We'll see. If you want to see the video, let me know. I think whether or not you tell me whether you tell me you want to see the video will probably dictate how fast I put that video together. So we'll see what happens. But the day before was my birthday. Happy birthday to me. And I did a little doodle of a piece of cake. And for all of the doodles that I include in my daily pages, I don't really have many so far, in August, but I will just literally Google birthday cake doodle in Google and see like one of the images that pops up is usually one of the first, and I will just freehand and try and sketch that into my pages. It's nothing serious, not that deep, but on this spread I liked, or wanted to add a lot of color, or just more color. My freezer inventory I did at the beginning of August to see what we have in the freezer, and that's, like I said, how I dictate what dinners that we're gonna make for the week. So that's what I put there. A few photos from Stationery Fest and nothing else, because of course I wasn't with my planner on that day, nor was I really with my planner on my birthday either. So getting into the next 2-page spread, that's a page per day, and I've been working on sleeping better, or increasing my sleep hygiene, getting more sleep hours, however you want to say it. And here I just noted down some practices to include in order to increase my sleep quality. So create like a wind down routine or a night routine. I kind of have one, but I've never been like stringent with it, but I'm trying to do that a lot more lately. Low light, making sure the room, you know, has low light. I do, because any amount of light, even like the blinking on the TV, like those little LED lights, will wake me up. It's the weirdest thing. Also, one thing that I did find, and I do feel like is quite true, if I make sure that my blood sugar is regulated, I'm less likely to wake up like 2 o'clock in the morning and not be able to fall back asleep. So that is something I've been paying attention to, just making sure I'm eating at regular intervals throughout the day, making sure I'm going to bed not hungry, just making sure I'm eating things that will keep me fuller for longer so that I can sleep overnight, sleep through the night without waking up and not being able to fall back asleep. So that's what's over here on this left hand side. On the right hand side, this was the beginning of August, and I did write down some planner plans for 2025. This is different now. I'm pretty sure there are some things here that have changed, but I was kind of hashing out some thoughts. Like I wrote down my daily planner, which this is considered, my brainstorming notebook, my YouTube planner, my journal, faith planner, my companion health and fitness reading journal, and my 5-year. Just writing down all the things that I do touch on a regular basis in terms of planning and seeing what's going to change, what's not going to change. So that's where I wrote down some of those ideas. Again, like I said, this isn't even accurate anymore, but it's okay. It's not really something I'm going to have to reference later. Anyway, so the next spread is when I know I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit like I'm trying to do too much with, you know, this month, and I just wanted to relax even more. Here is when I knew. Here is when I knew it was just time to take a step back and rest for a bit. And that's exactly what I did for the bulk of August. So this was the end of the week, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for my top 3 tasks for the next week. Like I only wanted to focus on 3 things, nothing else, because I felt like I needed to kind of just pull back the reins on everything else that I've been trying to accomplish lately. And that's exactly what I did. And my weekly review, as you can see, does have one of those little vellum pieces covering it as well. Here is a spread, and I actually duplicated what I do in my brainstorming notebook. I've never actually shown it on my channel. I will. Eventually. I do think I'm going to get the Sterling Ink daily planner to use as my brainstorming notebook for next year. So videos to come covering all of that. But I do track my time. If you've seen my previous time blocking video where I use my digital calendar to block out what I'm going to do when, you do know that I time block my time. However, I also track to see what I actually did. So the time blocking is to plan what tasks and what chunks of time I want to delegate to what specific areas of my life. And then what I will tend to do, not always, maybe a couple times a week, I will track and see where my time was spent, especially when I'm feeling like I'm probably wasting some time. So that's what I did here. And I just used some mild liners, the zebra mild liners, that neutral pack. I'm not even sure what it's called, but the colors are really pretty and they coordinate well with the washes that I chose for this spread. So that's what that's looking like. And I just recreated those trackers here. Again, my task list and a little bit of journaling. And I actually like the way this spread looks. Next one is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday over these 2 pages. And again, one of those little doodles that I just Googled because I had just received some AirPods Max and I drew them in right there. By the way, I love them more than I thought I would. So moving on to this spread. Here I was actually testing out my Pilot Vanishing Point stripes because I was trying to get the ink to flow. And I did like a little squiggle here. And I feel like at first glance, I actually kind of like it. It looks like a decorative item or decorative element that I added to the page. And I quite like it. And then on the right, again, another one of those vellums covering the weekly review. So here is what, like the 3rd week of August. And Joyce and I went to Starbucks, or met up at Starbucks, and we pulled out our journals. We sat down and we had some coffee and we just chilled for a bit. So I commemorated that time here. Here is where I also used that wet glue I was talking about, like that liquid glue. And it did make the page crinkle a bit, which is fine. But I noticed that kind of later, like after the fact. And I used some of my stamps. I got this from Everyday Explorers at Stationery Fest. So that's where I used that stamp, coffee and journals. It was very appropriate for what we did. And then the next spread, pretty straightforward, task list and some journaling. And I did include a little doodle of a sloth, obviously. Well, I don't know if it's obviously a sloth. It looks like a sloth to me, but I had just gotten those pastel super tips. Let me grab them. Here they are. So I had just gotten this pack of pastel super tips not too long before this, and I wanted to try them out, see what they look like, see, you know, what the colors look like, and I thought that it would go well with the spread when I drew out my little sloth. Again, I just Googled sloth doodle, and this is what came up. This is one of the first ones that came up with little branch and everything, and I just freehanded it on here, right? So then I was like, I don't want a brown sloth because I want to add some color to the page. So I'm like, how about a purple sloth? So then I chose some of the markers from here. And when I was talking about the super tips and how the cap does not always match the marker, this super tip, which I thought was like the darkest purple in the pack, is actually this lighter purple color. And then I think like this super tip is that darker purple, and the ones that I did this the words with. So that was quite annoying. That's also why I do feel like I really do need to do that swatch page, which I'm gonna do soon, maybe even right after this video. When I pulled out the one that I thought was darker, I tried to color in the eyes. It looked a little too light. I was like, what the heck is going on? And then I turned this over trying to look at the names of the colors, and what do you know, there's a sloth that's here. At least I think that's a sloth, or a raccoon. Actually, what do you think that is? Is that a sloth or a raccoon? I feel like going all the way to the edges gives me raccoon vibes, but I don't know. Anyway, so I flipped this over and I was like, wait a minute, is that a sloth? And I thought that was a cute coincidence. I digress. I'm going off on a tangent, but I was clearly feeling like a sloth on this day. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do on my to-do list, like I ran some errands and everything, but everything just felt like it was moving slow, or I needed everything to move slow, and I just didn't want to do a whole lot of anything. So definite sloth vibes for me on August 23rd. And then flipping the page that weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I don't have much, and I didn't put too much of anything in here, but I did take this opportunity to tip in a gift card from my gift. So my kids bought me one of those Longchamp Le Pliage mini pouches, and we ordered it back in July, a specific color and material. We ordered it back in July. It was back ordered until I think like August 16th. Which would have been after my birthday. I was perfectly fine with that. But then I found out around that time that it would be back ordered again until September. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. Forget it. I'll just order a different color or whatever. And that's what I did. And I included a note to myself, like a gift note in the box, because I always order everything with gift wrapping. Pro tip. Even if you're buying something for yourself and the gift wrapping is free, just ask for gift wrapping. It's always fun. And I always include a note for myself. This one says, very demure, very mindful. So yeah, that's what I added for my gift card, and I just tipped it in here because this is when I received it. And then my weekly review, I have some of that vellum, like a scene overlapping this weekly review spread. And I'm really feeling adding in the vellums here and there. I have found that in the September kit, it doesn't seem to be that easy to do because I feel like the vellums don't have scenes on them. But I have some other ideas of how I'm going to use the vellum and incorporate it throughout my September pages. All right, getting into the next spread. We're nearing the end of August. I did put the little sticker that came in the Longchamp packaging here because I just needed to fill that space. And here, a migraine was trying to come on. It was trying to attack me. And I was like, no bueno. So I wrote that down. This is how my brain works, and it just, I don't know, I just do it. And I was still loving the pastel super tips. Since this time I used them on a few other things and I thought it would go well with this color, so I just wrote in no bueno there. I'm really enjoying just adding in a few areas of like handwriting or hand lettering throughout my spreads. And then Wednesday, a lot did happen. I feel like a lot happened on this day, so I wasn't in here a lot, and I didn't even bother to fill in like the rest of the page. I like when there's empty or blank space every now and again. It doesn't bother me at all. And then here's the last 3 days of August, 29th, 30th, and the 31st. I did add a doodle of, they're supposed to be number balloons. I think they look like number balloons. And then I added some squiggles around it. I think it's really cute because my son turned 13. So I was kind of commemorating that and writing a little bit of a blurb all about that. I didn't include any pictures here though. I thought about whether I would come back and maybe put a picture of him in here. I don't know. We'll see. And then to round out August, I do have my August spread. So this month was my favorite, of course. It's just always my favorite month because it's my birthday month, whatever. I make no apologies. But I did find that this month I felt like I was obsessed with quite a few things. Palazzo pants. I've discovered palazzo pants. I feel like they're like day pajamas whenever I put them on. I probably have purchased way too many in the month of August, but that's okay. They're good for summer. They can transition to fall, go back into spring. I'm really loving them. Also, shaken espresso. I tried making it at home myself, and it was super easy and amazingly delicious. It makes it like really frothy and just generally good. So that's what I've been obsessed with. Also, I did buy myself, because I do buy myself gifts, I bought myself a new pair of sneakers for my birthday, and of course got the gift wrapping. I just have a photo to commemorate that. Here is the little pouch that my kids got me for my birthday. I wanted to acknowledge my obsession with the pastel super tips as well, right over here, and my new AirPods Max. And something that I actually forgot to include, I did print the photo though, but by the time I got here and like was putting everything in, I don't know where the photo went. But it was the DJI Osmo 3, the Pocket Osmo 3. I have a photo of it. I don't know where it went. But that's also something that I've been obsessed with this month. And then on the right side, I did a little bit of a write-up about Stationery Fest and another photo of Joyce and I over there. And then a photo of my husband and I. We went out to dinner for my birthday. There's a sombrero, there's sparklers involved, so it was obviously a good time. And then a photo when we went out for my son's birthday. And also I did have like this parking receipt that I saved from my birthday. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. It's probably on thermal paper, so it will eventually like turn colors. Oh, that's another thing. So I put in that Starbucks receipt, just FYI. So things that are printed on like that thermal paper will fade over time. If you want them to not fade, just take a photocopy of it and then put it into your planner. But I honestly don't care. I don't care what my Starbucks order will be, like was 3 years from now when I look back on this. But if you do care, keep that in mind to just photocopy it. But anyway, I thought that maybe I would use this parking receipt. I didn't end up using it. I did also order some Crocs. Crocs are not my thing. I'm not really into Crocs. However, I saw that the Jean-Michel Basquiat Crocs came out, and I'm into Basquiat, so I bought the Crocs. And I was going to kind of like maybe tip this in as like a flag. I don't know, but it's gonna live here for right now. This is just the tag that came on them. The typical, you know, Basquiat crown or whatever. So that sums up August. Then we get into September. I do have a video setting up September if you want to see that. But overall, August was good to me. August was very good to me. On the life update train of thinking, I just felt like I needed to reset. I felt like I needed to recharge my battery, so to speak. And I needed to kind of take a step back from all the things that I wanted to do, the things that I planned to do, and just pour into myself a little bit more. And I'm not mad about it. I'm not disappointed that maybe I missed out on being productive in some kind of way in August. I don't care. I did what I needed to do for me in August. And that is exactly what I encourage you all to do also. If you feel like you just need some time to take a step back, to relax, to kind of readjust, recenter. I always call it like I'm recentering myself. Refocusing. Do what you need to do. The work and the projects and all the other stuff, all the other life things will be there once you get back. And I'm pretty sure more often than not, when you do go back, you will feel recharged and ready to go, which is exactly how I feel for September. I feel like my battery is charged and I'm good. But anyway, that is all of how August shaped up for me in my planner as well as in my brain. If you have anything you want to share about how your August went, feel free to definitely leave it down below in the comments so we can kind of get the conversation going. I truly appreciate you being here and appreciate you watching and following along on today's video. If you're into productivity, planning, just life things in general, feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you hang around here with me. I would truly appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.